Here in Germany, a new law partially legalizing cannabis has come into effect. At midnight, hundreds gathered in central Berlin to celebrate the moment. Under the legislation, over 18s can now possess up to 25 grams in public for personal use and cultivate up to 3 plants at home. But the legislation has its critics who point to health and law and order concerns. Germany's conservative opposition says they'll revoke the law if they come to power.
Weed smokers in Germany are lighting up legally for the first time from April 1st. Many are celebrating.
You know the pictures? When cows are allowed out to pasture for the first time after winter, they jump with joy, and of course that will be us at the beginning of April.
But the new cannabis measures are only a partial legalization. So what do they mean exactly? Adults over 18 in Germany are now allowed to carry up to 25 grams of cannabis on them. They can smoke weed in public, but not within 100 meters of schools, sports facilities, or playgrounds. People can also grow up to 3 plants at home and store up to 50 grams of cannabis for personal use. For now, there won't be any shops selling it directly to customers. The only way to buy weed legally will be through a so-called Cannabis Social Club membership, but only from July 1st.
Social clubs can have up to 500 members, and they all actively participate in the cannabis production. For each individual member, the club can grow up to 3 plants and can thus produce a member's monthly supply, which is a maximum of 50 grams, and then give it to the member.
In Berlin, people hope the new law will reduce the illegal market for the drug.
I think legalization is a good idea in general because it decreases the black market, which is essentially the problem because people are buying stuff that they don't know what's in it.
It's better to regulate it, the whole process, than just have a super huge black market.
While many in Germany are celebrating, some have raised concerns about the legalization. While police unions say it will be hard to enforce regulations, checks, and penalties, doctors are worried that the new law sends the wrong message and plays down the dangers of cannabis use and addiction.
I'd like to welcome Bernd Verser, the co-founder of the Center for Drug Research at Goethe University in Frankfurt, which has been tracking this legalization process. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I'd like to start with your thoughts on this new law. Do you think it does indeed play down the dangers of cannabis use and addiction, as we just heard some doctors are saying?
Well, we have seen in other countries where they had liberalizing or even legalizing laws that it didn't come into effect. At best, older people tended to smoke more, but not younger people. So all these concerns about young people smoking more and sending the wrong message and so on, that hasn't been true in other countries, and it won't be true in Germany as well.
I want to ask you about other precedents for this kind of law. What do you think about the so-called cannabis social clubs being used as a platform for the commercial sale of cannabis? Is this the best model that Germany has chosen, and has it been tried elsewhere before?
Well, there are some countries where they have tried real cannabis social clubs, meaning clubs where you can also use cannabis and not only grow there. That's different in Germany. Perhaps it's a very German approach that you have now cannabis clubs where you can't use, and you have clubs up to 500 members, and everyone has to care about these plants. I don't know how this really should work in such big clubs. So it's not. I mean, these clubs will come into effect at the 1st of July, and we will see how we will get around with this. I think the much greater part of the newly legal market will be taken by people who are growing up to 3 plants at home, and there were even polls saying that up to 10% of Germans are willing to grow cannabis at home.
Okay, so up to 10% of Germans perhaps going to take the opportunity to grow at home. What about the other 90%? Do you think we could see the legalization of commercial pot production in licensed shops, for example? Would this be another possible model that Germany would work toward?
Well, that's what the German government has planned, but I didn't see any concrete efforts regarding this second pillar, the so-called second pillar of the cannabis law. And I hope that the government will will set up draft laws quite soon, because otherwise they won't have a chance to get it done in this legislative term.
And what happens now until July? Are we in a bit of a legal gray area for people who might be carrying cannabis in Germany?
Well, I mean, for many people, there's few that will be changed regarding procurement of cannabis. They will get it from people that they know well, from friends, from acquaintances, from private dealers. But the main thing that has changed is that millions of people are not criminalized anymore. They can smoke in public. They can carry up to 25 grams, and they won't have to be fearful against policemen when they meet them. And I think this is really a very big step in German drug policy.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us. That is Bernd Verse from the Center for Drug Research.
For more on this, let's bring in Christine Lutka. She's the Addiction and Drug Policy spokesperson for the Liberal FDP party in Germany's parliament, the FDP being a part of the governing coalition. Thanks for being with us. Ms. Lutka, your party supported the passage of this law that partially legalizes cannabis in Germany. Can you explain to our viewers why the country needs this law?
Well, yes, good morning. With the cannabis law, we finally end the policy of prohibition and repression of the last decades. We have seen that this kind of policy doesn't work out because we have still rising numbers on cannabis consumers. So we want to try another way. And we think that the decriminalization and the legalization, the part legalization, is the right way.
Well, some would argue that it opens the gates instead of stops people from using it. It's long been argued that cannabis is a gateway to harder drugs. Is that not the case?
No, that is actually not the case. There are no studies that confirm that. Throughout the international studies don't show that. So we think that the problem is the illicit market, the black market. Consumers of cannabis are forced up to now to buy their cannabis on the illicit market, and they don't know what kind of cannabis they have there. We see high THC levels. We see contaminated cannabis, which causes really bad health problems. So we open up, with the cannabis bill, we open up two legal ways to get cannabis, which is the home growing part, and the growing together in cannabis clubs, which will take place from July 1st this year.
Now, growing and consuming cannabis legally will be possible only for people 18 and older. You yourself have said that young people should not consume cannabis. I saw this on your website. But what kind of message do you think this law sends to children and young people?
Well, with the bill that is enacted now, we do have prevention measures, we do have prevention campaigns, and we open up the talking about cannabis. Right now, talking about cannabis and the risks of cannabis consumption is kind of a taboo, and we want to break with that taboo and open up for ways to help also young people to seek for help, to seek counseling, and to seek prevention measures. So I think we passed a good bill which combines the more modern cannabis policy with a higher youth consumer and health protection.
So your party supported this law that has now been passed. Your party wants to go further, though, with legalization. The FDP wants to legalize commercial pot production and the sale of it in licensed shops in Germany. How soon do you think that might become reality?
It is true that the bill we passed now is just the first step. We are aiming to do the second step, which will be similar to the way we see in Canada with controlled production and selling throughout shops. We are still working on that. The Minister of Health promised that he will give us a draft or at least some bullet points right after the passing of the cannabis law. So we are still working on that and waiting for the Minister of Health to bring in the bullet points.
Christine Lutka, addiction and drug policy spokesperson for the Free Democrats here in Germany. Thank you very much for talking with us.